Mr. Karan Verma, the author and political analyst, is joining us as well to talk to us about that. Karan, hi, good to be speaking with you. Let's start by discussing your own assessment of the Congress manifesto. Do you think there are those promises and guarantees that they will that would help them garner the votes, or this is pretty much run-of-the-mill kind of manifesto coming in with nothing that stands out? What's your own assessment of the manifesto?
I would have been fine with a run-of-the-mill stuff, but I think it was highly fiscally irresponsible. There were a lot of half-truths that were peddled, and it was very divisive in nature. Let's talk about some of the promises that they made. Let's start with the first one, which was the caste census. I think the last thing this country needs right now is to be divided along caste lines. And the way Rahul Gandhi has played this caste card, talking about removing the 50% ceiling, I mean, aspirational India doesn't need this at this point of time. What they need to do is perhaps create more jobs, talk about employment, unleash the entrepreneurial spirit. I saw none of that. So it was pretty regressive in that sense and so also divisive. Another promise that he made was legalizing MSP. It sounds good, but let's talk about some brass tacks here. When we talk about legalizing MSP, it becomes somewhere to the tune of a 17 lakh crore burden on the exchequer. Now, our budget is around 40 lakh crores. So should we say goodbye to all the welfare schemes, to all the infrastructure investments? So these are hard questions that need to be answered. You can promise anything in your manifesto, but is it plausible? Is it practically feasible? Is the question. Then he talked about Swaminathan Commission. They've never implemented that. UPA was in power. They never implemented any of it. In fact, the current dispensation has implemented that, and that was, ratified by Mr. Swaminathan himself. But they still talk about implementing that. So there's a half truth there. Most of the things, restore freedom of speech. You saw a lot of hypocrisy there. Just a few years back, a couple of years back, when Congress was in Chhattisgarh, a man who complained of electricity addition charges pressed against him. In TMC ruled West Bengal, they are allies. We see a reporter being picked off in the middle of the night. We see what Shah Jahan Sheikh has done, and for 55 days he was not arrested. So where is your love for the woman? Where is your Nari Nyay when you have someone like Shah Jahan Sheikh who's absconding from 55 days and Priyanka Gandhi who talks about Ladki Hoon Lad Sakti Hoon doesn't say a word? So it was a lot of half-truths, a lot of hypocrisy that we saw. I don't think that will cut too much of ice with the electorate. The electorate today is far more well-informed and mature, if you ask me.
Taken, Karan, but this government, the current government, that is the BJP NDA government, has been said to be lacking when it comes to job creation. Unemployment has been pretty high in the country, and at least there is a lot of noise being made in the Congress manifesto about that, whether it is coming in terms of the Kisan Nyaya, in terms of the MSP, whether it's the 30 lakh new central job creation or the apprenticeship opportunities. What do you make of that?
When we talk about 30 lakh government jobs, that's not going to add to the growth of the country. If anything, that is going to burden our exchequer. I agree with you. Employment is always an issue, and which is why I was all ears to hear something innovative come up from the Congress. I liked the apprenticeship thing to a certain extent. I would love to see how that's implemented, but at least the idea of it sounds good. 30 lakh government jobs and putting that burden on the exchequer without thinking of any growth plan, I think that was pretty regressive in nature. And as far as employment is concerned, unfortunately, we do not have proper data mechanisms to record that. The Prime Minister Mudra Yojana gave away more than 25 crore loans. So these are entrepreneurs or self-employed people. 25 crore people being the beneficiaries of it, I see them creating at least one or two jobs. But unfortunately, we don't quite have the numbers. If I go by the periodic labor survey, the unemployment the last quarter was 3.1%. So that is pretty much within limits. But you're right. With our economy growing, with our demographic dividend, we need something more innovative in terms of employment. Unfortunately, the Congress doesn't have that credibility. You look at them in Rajasthan. They were in power in Rajasthan where they were voted out. Unemployment was the highest in the country in Rajasthan at that point of time. Crime against women was the highest in Rajasthan at that point of time. So this is a party that hasn't walked the talk. So when they promise, unfortunately, they lack that credibility.
Yeah, that's true. The credibility has been one of the issues as well. But just let me wrap up the conversation by asking about the religion divide that you talked about. Do you think what they're trying to do is trying to get the minority vote? Because, of course, historically, Congress has been viewed as an elite kind of crowd caterer, while BJP too has been only sort of catering to the, Hindu voters as such. Do you think there is a bit of a change of guard here that they're looking at getting the minority votes as well?
So they've always been looking to get the minority vote. Unfortunately, it's the Congress which is in an identity crisis. And we saw that in Vayanagar. When Rahul Gandhi went to his nomination, he made sure that IUML, which is a rabidly communal organization, Indian Union Muslim League, he made sure their flags were not seen, even though he is in an electoral alliance with them. So it's Rahul Gandhi who doesn't know whether to go temple hopping, whether to appease the minority. They are in that ideological crisis because they never really had an ideology to begin with. They were always fishing for votes and they saw them as vote banks. So this Hindu-Muslim divide, unfortunately, has boomeranged big time on Rahul Gandhi. He doesn't know whether to deploy soft Hindutva, to be seen going at iftar parties or not, to be seen going to temples or not. So they are in the ones who are in an identity crisis, and people have understood. We saw what happened with Kamal Nath. He had become this Chunavi Hindu during the Madhya Pradesh elections, but people saw through the phony act. So people today are, I think, far more intelligent. They're not that gullible where they're going to fall for a narrative so easily. They do watch shows like yours and others, and they try to get to the root of the matter.
Yeah, I think the voter has to be intelligent, right? And that's what we are inching towards. Thanks so much, Karan, for making time and
My
speaking with
pleasure.
us today.